One of the most compelling aspects of Chainsaw Man is its raw portrayal of the modern condition, a world where isolation, despite our ever-connected digital age, is increasingly becoming an epidemic. But it's not just emotional solitude that haunts our protagonists. This isolation bleeds into toxic relationships that distort their sense of self and changes how they perceive the world and other people. In this video, I'll analyze and deconstruct how Chainsaw Man utilizes loneliness and how it relates to gender to drive its central plot, tackle complex issues, and create characters that are nuanced, engaging, and relatable.
No shit? We could sleep all we want now!
Exactly how stupid are you?
Our first interaction with Denji is him growing up in extreme poverty. His only companion, a chainsaw dog devil he names Pachita.
When I do cop some Z's, I know what dream I want to have. Gonna put jam on all my bread, and split every piece with you. Then I'll lay on the charm and flirt with a girl. We'll spend the night playing video games together and hug each other as we doze off. Sweet, right?
Denji's isolation is palpable. His struggles with identity and lack of human connection reflect a modern social landscape we see today.
It's not like I was asking to be freaking king of the world. Just dreaming of a normal life was enough to keep me going. But I don't even get to have that much!
We see Denji in a misguided state, struggling to reach a social baseline, one set by misinterpreted, warped, and manipulated desires.
Can I please dig in?
Sure. I have to ask, though. Think you're really up to it?
Of course I'm gonna need help.
Here, say
In Denji's world, relationships come with strings attached.
Since you find the prospect of groping breasts intriguing, I'll let you touch mine as a reward for saving Meowie.
They serve as a battleground where self-identity is both constructed and deconstructed by others for means to their own ends.
Despite your dull mind, your instincts are quite sharp.
For a shonen story, Denji's base goals and motivations are not just meant to be comical, giving up his freedom and dignity and risking his life for trivial rewards, but is meant to show us how simple and bare this part of Denji's character is.
And I found one or two things I'm serious about. The goal to give my life purpose is melons!
as in the fruit?
Idiot!
Even after 160 chapters, Denji's goals remain so basic, it forces a vivid contrast to the complexity of the rest of the plot. Manipulation, betrayal, world-ending devils, international government schemes, you know, normal stuff. While it may seem easy to dismiss some of Denji's motivations as mere pursuit of physical gratification, a common and valid critique in the manga and anime industry, there's a significant depth behind his actions. Chainsaw Man doesn't shy away from the themes of hypersexuality, but at its core, this narrative digs deeper, exploring the consequences and realities of someone grappling with searching for connection through such a sexualized lens.
What's this thing?
'Tis a pad of the bra. Bosoms appear larger when this wondrous item's applied.
Unlike the typical shallow womanizer model often portrayed in anime, his actions display the surface level of a multi-layered character structure, and as a victim caught in a hyper-sexualized and manipulative world.
The most splendid experience? Stunned by just how fortunate you are? Now 'tis fair to call us even. With Meowie back in my custody, I
There's
have
so
no
much I
cause
could
to
say,
fear
but...
any longer. Yet there is no escaping Makima, which is why I shall continue to help you lot. I'm sure the pleasure is all yours. To bed we go, Meowie, my dearest.
That's it?
What might initially appear as mere sexual motivation is actually a complex, desperate plea for connection. Through Denji, Fugimoto paints the portrait of an immature and conflicted young man, whose actions are a distorted attempt to find belonging and intimacy in a world that continually exploits his vulnerabilities.
Am I just gonna realize I was happier chasing the thing than actually having it? That's like total bullshit, isn't it?
Can you be more specific about the goal that you achieved?
Well, I touched some boobs for the very first time, but it turns out second base is no big whoop.
Denji's journey into self-discovery is fraught with contradiction. His growth is bifurcated. On one hand, he forms profound, touching, platonic relationships, often without realizing their significance. Aside from Pochita, Denji forms 3 other true relationships: Power, Natsuya, and Aki. But I'll be focusing on just Power and Natsuya for this video, due to how clear and visible the relationships become. For Denji's character having so many incel tones, it seems strange at first for us to see him forming familial and paternalistic caretaking bonds with characters. But after the fight in hell traumatized Power, Denji not only refuses to give up Power to public safety, but begins taking care of her. And I mean completely taking care of her. Monsters under the bed, bathing, and all. And after the second arc, Denji takes on the role of an adoptive father to Natsuya, caring for her and taking on the task of teaching her about morality and humanity. By showing that Denji can be caring and take on these kinds of responsibilities, it helps balance Denji's character and show that he's not just a one-sided incel narrative. It's important to quickly note, while the connections that Denji forms with Power, Natsuya, and Aki are genuine, they were formed on very different bases and have separate implications than his relationship with Pochita, but I'll get into that later in the video. To reiterate, even after he forms these strong relationships, he still remains entrapped in a misguided race to sexual milestones. This dual path reflects a significant theme within Chainsaw Man, the exploitation of human connection. Denji's quest for this connection becomes a tool used by others to manipulate him, stunting his emotional and personal growth. It displays how societal pressures and personal insecurities can hinder self-actualization. Makima embodies the physical representation of society, and therefore the exertion of these societal pressures as well, fostering the bifurcation we see in Denji.
Listen, Denji. I believe that when it comes to sexual matters, the better you understand your partner, the better you'll feel. But understanding another's heart is easier said than done, so start small. Perhaps with hands. Take your time and carefully study them. How long are their fingers? And their palms? Are they cold? Or are they warm? What's the shape of their ears? Has anyone bitten your finger before? Pay attention. Remember this so that even if you lost your vision, you'd still recognize me, just from how hard I bite. Memorize it.
I think I got it.
Denji, dear. There's a favor I'd like to ask. If that's all right.
Sure.
I want you to bring down the gun devil for me.
We can see this by how the first arc ends with a twist reveal of her as the control devil and main antagonist. The very pact with Japan's prime minister that gives her her immortality by transferring her deaths onto the Japanese population implies her as a stand-in representation of Japanese society itself. From the very beginning of the story, she introduced Denji to his first glimpse of life outside of isolation and poverty, a life within society. Even considering the depressing condition Denji is in right off the bat, the story truly begins with him losing his entire quality of life when Pochita sacrifices himself. Pochita's pseudo-death ends Denji's one true genuine connection, and the trauma of that event, combined with having to face the fact that he is now completely alone, places him in a perfect position to be manipulated by Makima. It is important to recognize she doesn't just serve as a broad female representation of society, but as a direct figure of government within the plot, which is, at its core, a byproduct of society's need to exert control and maintain order over itself.
So why did we get blindfolded too?
Maybe you're unaware, but she reports directly to the Chief Cabinet Secretary. Rank-and-file hunters like us don't have clearance to know about the devils she's contracted with.
Shuzo Mishima. Say that aloud.
Shuzo Mishima.
Hurry up and get Chainsaw inside the van!
Right, okay.
Now! Come on, get the lead out and move! Are you even listening to me, Mishima?
Takashi Inoue. Say that name.
Takashi Inoue.
Wait!
Hey! Somebody! Damn it! Help me!
I think it stopped.
You can remove those. I've done everything within my power from Kyoto.
As a result, by including the theme of pressures and expectations from the government, adds further depth to Makima as a character and steers clear of the typical pitfalls associated with what would be a traditional femme fatale archetype. And so, as the expectations, pressures, and vulnerabilities all come together in her scheme, Makima manipulates Denji by manufacturing a happy life for him to grow attached to, all to set him up so that he will willingly surrender control when she finally takes it all away from him. Again, stripping Denji of his entirety quality of life, and repeating what happened in the very beginning with Pachita. Because of this setup, the plot twist and reset is able to happen when and only when Makima is removed from the plot. And so the main reason the story reset works so well is because the real core of Chainsaw Man is the character's internal conflicts. And so even though the plot progressed, Denji's progression stayed stunted and underdeveloped, leaving much of the story to expand on. Chainsaw Man doesn't just portray loneliness through one gender perspective. With the reset came our second protagonist, Asa Mitaka, a high school girl who has half of her brain taken over by the war devil Yoru. Most of the focus in the story is now moved from Denji to Mitaka, and Fugimoto uses this opportunity to give us a female parallel of Denji, digging deeper and bringing out the nuance and experiences of isolation, but now using Mitaka as the reader's speaker. Mitaka's struggle is very similar to Denji's in many ways, being thrown into a world of devils struggling with her own identity and experiences of isolation, and we see her reacting to it in a lot of the same ways Denji does. They both respond to death in very similar ways. They want their pain to end, and they're ready to throw in the towel if it means that. Fugimoto also gives us actual events as concrete examples of this parallelism, by repeating many of the fights that appeared at the beginning of the story, but placing Mitaka at the center of them. The Bat Devil fight, Eternity Devil, kicking somebody in the balls, for example. For this next part, it is important we fully contextualize some narrative connections Mitaka has with Denji. In the first arc, Denji's fight to face is Makima, She represents his issues with hypersexualization and the control and expectations an authoritarian society places on him. The fight Mitaka has to face is Yoru, the very embodiment of societal conflict that keeps compelling her to use the power that her gender role has in society to commoditize people and use them for her own gain, trying to turn her into a disconnected, narcissistic figure like Makima that operates on the dehumanization of others. Fugimoto goes as far as directly showing us the consequences of this controller path, with both Riz and Makima, letting us see that the system ends up using them and consuming them whole. Literally in Makima's case. Riz is our grounded example of what effects this controller path has on the human heart. Like Mitaka with Yoru, Riz wasn't given much of a choice. She was subject to a secret government program, locked in a room, and created to be that controller. This is one of the reasons why she's able to exploit Denji so effectively. Not that he's very hard to exploit, but her interaction with him felt different, like it had an air of corrupted authenticity. And we see that authenticity. She's shared in Denji's pain, in his experience, and we get to see the gut-wrenching way this ends for her, just as she's about to let go of being the controller. However, it is where Denji and Mitaka's characters diverge that allows us to fully delve into what Chainsaw Man has to say about loneliness and gender. We see Denji misguidedly reaching out to connect, while Mitaka shrinks away from people and isolates. Denji hypersexualizes connection, and Mitaka rejects sexual connection entirely. Even though Mitaka's struggle is within rejecting taking on the gender role of the controller and Denji's rejecting being the controlled, their suffering and loneliness equally are both circumstances of the pressures society places on their gender roles. This meshing of characters and dual visualization of male and female representations of loneliness has a subconscious impact on the reader. The parallels break down any expectations and presumptions, and at its core leaves a human story to empathize and relate with, empowering characters and readers, giving characters a depth and agency that fits into the construction of their identity, motivation, and plot, and readers one window into how we all suffer and fight against our own devils.
First off, let me start with an apology. First video, apology in the first video. Great start. This is actually a re-upload of an unlisted video from a separate channel that I decided to make a new channel focused on media analysis, probably mostly anime and manga, and I thought it'd be more fitting to put it here. So, but currently the Final Cut version of this video is on a different continent. So it's 720p because I downloaded it from my other account from YouTube, and that's the max quality that I can get off of YouTube. So first video, 720p. I recorded it and voiced it and basically wrote the script. I recorded and voiced it in a night, and I wrote the script for it in the span of like 3 days. It's really bad. So if any of you enjoyed any part of it, I call that a success. Other than that, bit of an introduction to the channel. I don't know if the future videos will be that in-depth because frankly I'm still burnt out from making that. I mean, first video also burnt out. Crazy how we're lining up all of these classical YouTuber things and we haven't even gotten started yet. Anyways. God, I'm not gonna post this. Anyways. Please stick around. If you enjoyed the video, like and comment. If I said some dumb shit, which I probably did, I have a very poor recollection of what I said in this video, leave a comment, tell me about it. Or don't, but be cool if you interacted. That's so, why did I say that? Do something, I don't know. Dislike it, dislike the video. I probably would. Yeah. We're gonna end this before this gets too bad.
西向こうです。出口は左側です。We are now arriving at Nishimuko, station number HK78. Please exit from the left side.